Hi everyone, thank you for tuning into the Houston View. We would just like to take this opportunity to say that we are delighted to bring such important issues to the forefront and participate in the discussions, no matter how big or small. I'm joined with Chantell Kim.
Thanks, Sara. Hi everyone, I am delighted to be a part of the Houston View, and I appreciate all the topics that have been discovered and discussed, and ultimately I look forward to all that we have in store.
We've definitely covered some really important topics over these past few months, and my hope is that we were able to reach some individuals and provide a little inspiration.
Yes, the episodes about bullying were very, very sensitive, but it's such an important topic that it really cannot be ignored.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is hard to understand just how important the topic is unless you've personally been affected by bullying or you know someone who has. So our goal was not only to assist families that have been impacted by bullying, but also to educate the public so that it can be taken more seriously in schools and even in the workplace.
Makes sense. The issue that stood out the most was the episode on Crystal Mason, the mother who received a 5-year sentence for illegal voting.
Yes, that is a very sad situation for Crystal and her family. Would you like to share some of the updates on the case?
Yes, thank you. So we first introduced Crystal Mason on episode 1. You may recall that she pleaded guilty for tax fraud, and she served nearly 3 years in a federal prison. When she was released from prison, she was then convicted of illegal voting, making her a repeat offender. Texas attorney Marquise Bryant broke down the law and explained that the judge actually gave Crystal Mason the minimum possible sentence he could, given the current Texas law. 5 years was the minimum possible sentence based on the repeat offender statute of the Texas Penal Code. Now, Crystal filed a motion for a new trial where she argued that her former attorney failed to inform her fully of her rights and how a conviction would impact her life. The new trial was denied, and Crystal's new legal team immediately filed for an appeal. What occurs next is devastating. Since Crystal was on federal probation at the time of the illegal voting conviction, it was considered a violation of her probation. Federal prosecutors charged Crystal prior to the results of her appeal and sentenced her to 10 months in federal prison for probation violation, and an additional 2 years and 2 months of probation. Crystal was ordered to surrender for her 10-month sentence on or before September 13th, 2018.
My heart pours out to her and her family. I can't imagine what this whole ordeal must be like for them. I mean, who would have ever imagined that voting could land you in prison for 5 years? I mean, probation, I could see that, but prison?
Yes, it's a very, very unfortunate sequence of events for Crystal and her family. I do want to point out a few details. Before her trial, prosecutors did offer her 10 years probation, which she turned down, and there is still a glimmer of hope. Her appeal is still under review, which means that her 5-year sentence could be overturned.
Well, that's good to hear. What about the 10 months of federal time that she's serving?
Unfortunately, nothing can be done about that. The best she can hope for is that the appeals court overrules the illegal voting conviction.
Are you mentally ready for that?
Not at all. I'm not ready.
Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed for her. I'm sure she'll be glad when all of this is behind her. So hang in there, Crystal. Okay, what's next?
On a much, much lighter note, Houston has a huge independent artist population, from graphic design to canvas art, singers, rappers, even filmmakers. There's no shortage of supply when we're talking about the arts and entertainment industry in Houston. The Houston View aims to help showcase local independent artists and entertainers. The aim is twofold. First and foremost, we want to introduce our viewers to talented individuals and showcase their skill. And the second is to educate and inspire young, up-and-coming artists and entertainers in their respective fields. Sara, you had a chance to sit down with some of these local talented individuals, didn't you?
Yes, I did actually. I had the honor of interviewing 2 very talented directors and an up-and-coming singer, Adam Elara, who is a Houston-raised actor, model, and musician, best known for his songs How It Feels to Love and Lullaby. I sat down with Adam and two members of his crew, his director, Khayyam and director of photography, Andrew Vaughan. We discussed his new single, Swiping for Love, which is coming out soon, and we even got to get a little deeper and discover more details about the artist. So let's take a look at what Adam had to say. We have Adam Elara, a Houston-raised actor, model, and musician, best known for his songs How It Feels to Love and Lullaby. He's here today to talk about his new single, Swiping for Love. We're also going to get the details on the making of the music video from the director, Khayyam and director of photography, Andrew Vaughan. So thanks, guys, for joining us today on the Houston View. Adam, how'd you get started in music?
I kind of just fell into it. So growing up, I was always kind of like an outcast or like really weird. So I ended up making like friends that were like-minded and they happened to play instruments, and I didn't want to be left out, so I learned how to play guitar.
Okay.
And basically I just started playing in bands and started playing in shows, and that's kind of how I got started. It's just like through friends and stuff doing similar stuff, and just really through the punk skateboarding kind of scene. It was kind of all connected. You know, you go skateboard and you play guitar, and that's kind of how I got started in that.
Great. Well, who are some of the musicians that you admire, and what is it about them that you really like?
I really like Freddie Mercury from Queen, because when I was first starting to learn how to sing, people were telling me to like check him out, and I didn't even know I knew who Queen was growing up, because I didn't get music kind of handed down to me from my parents like a lot of kids do. So I didn't even realize I already knew all of their songs already. And I saw him perform at like Wembley Arena, and it was insane. He's such a great live performer. I also really like Marilyn Manson, because of him I started like reading a lot more. Like I would go and like try to figure out like what he was saying in his music. I also really like The Cure, because I'm like a goth sad boy. So, yeah, I don't know, just his music just really resonates with me. And they're all over the place. I pretty much just like artists that take risks and make you think about stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so tell us about your process for creating a new song. What are your inspirations?
I mean, every song is different. So it just kind of depends on like how I get the idea first. So, for example, it could start off with like a lyrical idea. If I want to write about something that happened, then I'll work backwards from there and then make a song out of it. Sometimes it's literally like I'll be playing and I'm like, wow, that sounds so cool that I'm going to build an entire thing out of just one thing because that sounds cool. So it just honestly just depends on the song. But the process is honestly, if I could say for everything, it's just a lot of writing, rewriting, drafts and editing and just trying to make it as cool as possible. Yeah.
Cool. So we've heard about your mission to write a new song every month this year. How is that going, and where do you find the time to do this?
Well, I actually just missed the deadline for July's, but we're gonna come out with probably like 2 for August instead. What I'm doing is I'm already writing and working on like 4 or 5 songs at once. So whatever I'm like super hyped on at the moment will probably be the one that gets done for that month. So that's kind of how it works. I have like 20, 30 demos at any given moment, and whatever I like the best or I'm in the mood for is the one that ends up coming out that month. I wish I could say it was this brilliant, artistic, overlying thing that I dreamed up like years ago. Like, I'm gonna come up with this great concept and all of the songs tie together and there's hidden no, it's none of that. It's just like, this is coming out this month because I just finished it in time.
Right. Well, tell us about your new single, Swiping for Love.
Yeah, so Swiping for Love is like a parody almost. It's just like satirizing modern dating and spending time on things like Tinder and Bumble and those apps, and how it's kind of changed the way we meet people. Things have already changed on meeting people. Like, I've met Andrew and a lot of my good friends now because of things like social media. Mm-hmm. So people will organize things to go meet up in real life, and that's how you go and make networking and connections and all that. But with dating, it's so strange, because before it was like, you're scared, like, oh, I'm gonna go approach this girl, and what am I gonna say? Does my hair look stupid? And now it's just like, oh, she looks stupid, so swipe left, or something, you know, just like, or that one little line of a bio thing, it's enough to tell somebody how you meet someone, and 90% of communication is nonverbal. So it's like, how do you how do we operate like this? It's crazy. So the whole song is kind of like diving into that and all of my negative experiences being on there, because I tried it out, and it was, all of the scenes in the video are kind of inspired by like real life events.
Yeah.
We're just taking it to the comedic extreme. So yeah.
Right. So how did you guys come up with the concept for the video and the different parts to it?
We mostly took our own negative experiences, and then we wanted, I think we wanted to incorporate them through a storyline. A lot of it was Adam's ideas, of him in different scenarios, and then I incorporated some of my ideas because I wanted to put in some humor here and there, and then
try to find like the funniest way of manifesting these weird things that happen, and what's the most ridiculous version of it that we could put on screen.
Right.
right. Yeah.
So did you guys face any kind of challenges in making the video, and how did you deal with them?
Yeah, I mean,
Drama?
no real drama. It was a lot of fun, actually. We kind of
Yeah.
met up, and this is the first time I'd met either of these guys was kind of around the idea of shooting this video. And we all just hit it off really well, got along, went to Adam's place, and he's got like a little home studio, so we'd hang out there and just spitball ideas for a couple of hours. And, sooner than later we had a storyboard, we had this general concept what we wanted to do. And then it was getting down to shooting, and we did the whole thing in 2 days, and it was pretty drama-free, as far as I
We had
remember.
a great time actually making this stuff. There was no egos or any sort of problems or drama that was going on, which was great, because I've had problems before. Whenever you go to some set, there's always something. But this time it was so streamlined because he really emphasized the planning aspect of it, and I complained the whole
super
time.
organized.
Big stickler. Yeah.
It was great though, because it made out to make it a better video, because we had a shooting schedule, like locations and everything was great. These guys really did a great job.
Yeah, so you bring up some great points with all of this. What do you guys think are kind of the strangest modern dating aspects in America?
Well, there's a lot of them in the video, you'll see. Catfishing is definitely a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much so there's a whole like show based around being catfished, so.
Yeah.
Have you guys had any experiences in real life being catfished?
Yeah. Have you?
No.
No? You want to hear one? I went and when I met her, it turned out to be like a much older man. And in my head, I was thinking, how does he think that this is going to play out? That I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like, I'll just roll with it. Like, it was a completely different person. And that's one of the strangest ones. Like, there's a scene in the video where like I'm getting beaten up. And in real life, I remember I went on this date. It was the first date with this girl. And her ex does pull up. And he's in a truck and he has a gun. He pulled a gun out. And I was just like, if I loved you, maybe I'd die for you. Like, girl, I just met you, and this is your first impression. So there's some crazy stuff that's happened. Yeah, absolutely.
What about you guys? Worst dating experience?
Worst dating experience? As far as Tinder and stuff goes, you can usually tell, like, based on, like you're saying, the picture and, like, the whole first impression, and then you get to talk to them, and pretty quickly you can tell if there's, like, a whole facade going on that's not real, So
a little peacocking.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Ghosting.
I think the worst one for me, it wasn't even a bad date, but it was embarrassing because I showed up fine, but because of some random act of God, my sore throat decided to attack my system that day. So it's like, hi, how you doing? And at the end, I'm like, thanks, I had a great time. I just sounded terrible at the end of it. And she was so sympathetic, but I was so embarrassed and I was so tired, and it was only like an hour. But that little window was enough for me to go from like healthy to completely sick.
Traumatizing.
Yeah. So that was...
All right. Well, any plans for a tour?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just been trying to get everything together for it. And what I really want to do is go on tour with like another band or artist and write off of their success. That way I don't have to put any. No. But it'd be great to go on tour with like a band and like open up for them or something. Because I've toured in the past as a solo act or in a band, and it's just more fun to have like other people around with you and stuff.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Adam, Khayyam, and Andrew, for joining us on the Houston View. Swiping for Love is scheduled for release later this year. For updates, you can check out Adam's website. It's adamelara.com, and you can also follow him on Twitter, Adam_Elara.
I prefer Instagram. Twitter is where my mind goes to die.
What's your handle on Instagram?
It's at Adam Elara, yeah. And then, of course, these guys have social media stuff too.
What are your handles, guys?
Oh,
He's got KhayyamCon.com.
yeah, khayyamcon.com. It's kind of a mouthful. Put a caption up, right? Spell
I
it.
do AV Pro Shots.
AV Pro Shots. I follow AV Pro Shots.
Thank you.
So, thanks for having us.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And here's a sneak peek of Adam's new video, Swiping for Love. I hope you enjoy.
Is this where we are? I thought we were close, but I guess we're far. Is this where we are? We're swiping for love, but chained out the blood. What's your problem? 'Cause I got none. What's your problem now? What's your problem now? What's your problem now? I am but two fools. I fell in love and said.
I also sat down with local filmmaker J.C. Elliston. Jay practiced as a civil attorney and family mediator until 2010. He experienced a serious life trauma with the loss of his wife, and 2011, a year later, he returned to the classroom to pursue his love of filmmaking. So I got the opportunity to sit down with Jay and talk about his passion for filmmaking and also his new short film, Pet Peeves, which you can actually view right now on his YouTube channel, Sophic Films. So let's see what Jay had to say. We are thrilled today to highlight local filmmakers on the Houston View and hear more about some upcoming projects that are being filmed right here in Houston, Texas. With us today is J.C. Elliston, writer and director with Sophic Films. Thanks, Jay, for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so how long have you been in film, and what did you do before you got into the film industry?
Sure. I started in 2012, really having a lot of interest in it. I was in New York City, and just by chance I went by B&H Video, which if anyone's ever been there, you know what I'm talking about. It's a fascinating place. They have multiple floors. They have all the equipment, all the gear. They have classes and seminars they hold all the time. It's a fascinating place, and I always loved films, but that's what got me to realize I want to be a filmmaker. So I took some classes at the Austin School of Film, 2012, 2014, I think, and then really started doing some of my own projects, but doing charitable organizations, corporate videos, that kind of thing, book trailer, that sort of stuff. Prior to that, I was a family law mediator for a number of years.
Exciting. So tell us about some of the projects you're working on right now.
Sure. I've got, of course, editing stuff all the time. I've got a project I just filmed last week. You might know about that. And and so I'm editing that right now, trying to get that ready. I'm going to be entering it into the Aperture Light My Location competition, but also submitting it to film festivals, South by Southwest, short film category, that kind of thing.
And what's the premise of the film?
Sure, it's called Pet Peeves, and it's about James and Jennifer and their first date at a restaurant, and you know, they hopefully they'll have a happy ending down the road, but they got to get through that night first.
Yeah. Oh, great.
And I have other projects I'm working on. I've got scripts that I've finished, and they're in pre-production as far as trying to get the casting started, the audition process, and so forth. I really want to try to film a new project, a serious project, because there's smaller stuff that I do at events that go on around town, because I have a YouTube channel that looks at that kind of stuff called Houston Nice. It looks at all the nice stuff going on around Houston. But the more serious independent filmmaking stuff that I do with Sophic Films, about every 2 months I really want to be filming a serious project. About as much as I can do, since it's pretty much a one-man show as far as pre-production and writing and everything
Yeah, it's
goes.
a lot of work.
It is. It's a lot of work. I actually enjoy that kind of pre-production stuff, though, just because it's a lot of problem solving, figuring out how to make things work. Logistics. Oh, big time, big time. So I don't lack for things to work on as far as, because like I said, I have scripts I've completed, and I have some that I'm working on, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
And where do you find the inspiration to write the scripts?
Sure. Let me give you an example. It was actually just yesterday. When I write, I hate to just all the time stay, in front of the computer at the house, that kind of thing. So I'll often go to, like, the Barnes and Nobles has a Starbucks in there, and I'll spend some time there. I like being out and looking at people. And one script I'm working on is about a guy in a coffee house. He's a real snarky kind of guy. Internally, his internal monologue, he's really snarky. Think Ryan Reynolds, okay? And he's seeing people come into the coffee house, and he's saying internal monologue again, funny, odd things about them. And I saw this girl yesterday. She was there, very, very lovely African-American girl, and she was wearing this zebra pattern shawl. And so I saw that, and then all of a sudden the dialogue kind of popped into my head of what the character would say, internal monologue again. You saw that, like, oh, it's nice zebra pelt. I bet PETA loves you. Once again, just kind of a snarky comment. But there it was, something that I saw visually at the Starbucks, and it got me an idea for some dialogue to build up that character and kind of show how snarky he is, at least when he's talking, when he's just having his own thoughts. But outside of those kind of experiences, one of the things that I've done, and I've got some short scripts on this, was looking at famous short stories by Southern female writers. Flannery O'Connor, Eudora Welty, Carson McCullers, that kind of thing. And what I did is I would read some of their really very well-known stories and look for the feeling that you get from it. What emotion does it bring out in you when you're reading it? And that can be food right there for an idea to create something. Just looking at what's happening in the story, it isn't that you're repeating what's been done or anything like that. It's using it more as inspiration. When you read a really powerful story, it hits you on different levels. Take those hits and get creative with them and see what you can create that has a similar emotional effect, while the plot can be, of course, it is totally different. But those are kind of the ways that I do it.
Great. Well, so as a filmmaker, what would you say is more difficult, getting started or being able to keep going once you've started a project?
Getting started.
You think so?
Yes, that there is especially if you've done it a little bit, oh man, there's so much to be done, that sort of thing. But once you commit to it and you get started, it's just barrel forward. You got to just do it, make the effort, make the commitment, and you're going to do it no matter what. Just have that attitude. So once I get started, okay, I'm going to get it done. But sometimes that you got that hill looking up to you.
Yeah.
I got to run over that thing.
That mountain.
Yeah, exactly.
So we hear about a lack of original stories in the world. People, feel like they've seen it all. How do you stay fresh in the face of a notion like that? Well,
I've heard that argument, that idea before, and I kind of thought about it. The thing to realize is that we have this cultural moment that is not this solid block that just goes through history. It changes, it morphs. So you can take a really simple idea, classic, old idea for a story, boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back, that kind of thing. Typical kind of love story like that. But then you look through the cultural lens of the time and the moment that you live in, and you bring something different to that very basic old idea. For example, boy meets girl, boy falls in love with girl, but girl's a lesbian. Okay, you got 1997 Chasing Amy, that movie.
Twist, yeah.
Exactly. Or you have another one, boy meets girl, boy falls in love with girl, but girl is an ex-porn star.
Hate it when that happens.
And then you hate it when that happens, really. Then you've got 2004's Girl Next Door, or one, and this was a good movie. I really enjoyed the heck out of this one. Boy meets girl, boy falls in love with girl, but boy's a zombie. Now you're talking 2013 Warm Bodies.
Right.
So you see how you take that basic idea that's as old as the written word, but you have through your time, through your culture, through the moment and experience that you've gone through, something new and something fresh. So I think you will always have that because time changes, people changes, new ways of filming, new cultural ideas, acceptance of different things. That before in the previous societal moment, cultural moment, that was verboten, it was forbidden, that kind of thing. So no, there will be new stuff. Now, there's always going to be a lot of formula hack stuff. We know
Right.
that. You got a lot of that out of Hollywood. But when you're talking about independent film and the creative process for those creators who are making that, yeah, they come up with fresh, interesting stuff.
Very inspirational, I feel like. What advice do you have for young filmmakers?
Sure. For young filmmakers, if you're young and you want to get into filmmaking, maybe it's a possibility to go to film school. There's different people have different feels about that. I think if you have that inclination and the ability to do that, financially or otherwise, then you should. Because there's so much that you will learn that way. You can learn a lot by crewing, by looking at YouTube videos or other online classes, that kind of stuff. But you're going to have some gaps. You don't know just what you're missing, what holes you have, because you haven't gone through the more formalized educational process to learn about it. That being said, there are some people who just want to get there and start creating. They've got stories they want to tell. They have life experiences that they've been through that they want to, let other people take a look into. So just start crewing, start doing it. If you're a writer, start writing, keep writing, and then just do as much as you can and learn it that way. So that's the only advice I'd have.
Yeah, it's just basically get in there.
Get in there and do it.
Well, thank you, Jay, for coming on the show today. His new film, Pet Peeves, will hopefully be debuting South by Southwest in Austin, Texas.
Let's hope so.
I also sat down with John Tucker, also known as Dr. Teeth from Director's Cut Media. John formed the J.D. Tucker Foundation as a vehicle to give back to historically black colleges and universities, which is a huge passion of his. And we talked about his love for filmmaking and also his new film, Pas Honteux, which is a French title, and the film has been entered into several film festivals, and he has gotten the top spot at least one of those festivals. So let's hear what John had to say. It is my pleasure to welcome John Tucker, aka Dr. Teeth, from Director's Cut Media. In addition to filming acclaimed music videos, including Still Tippin' and Hip Hop Saved My Life, he's also a philanthropist and formed the J.D. Tucker Foundation as a vehicle to give back to historically black colleges and universities. So can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself? How'd you get the nickname Dr. Teeth?
I got the nickname Dr. Teeth from my smile.
Oh,
I used to
okay.
play basketball. Everybody asks, like, you play football? I was real skinny then, right?
Oh.
And I got that name because one day in practice, I was on the fast break and I dunked, right? And so one of the kids yelled out, "Oh, Dr. J!" And I had the biggest smile. You're supposed to look mean after you done. I was smiling. And so the other kid, yeah, so much joy. The other kid yelled out, "No, Dr. T!" And so that kind of stuck. That's where it came from.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about the first film you ever filmed. What was it about and how old were you?
My first project I did at Texas Southern when I was a student called 21 Crunk Street.
Okay, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, like 21 Jump Street, but at the time Crunk was the saying, it was the slang that everyone was using. And at Texas Southern, me and the other group of guys decided that we would do a film. And we had like a little cult following on the campus. And we would do these little shorts, and people would pay $3 to come see our little short films. We do a little show where people on campus had talent. They could sing, and in between, or rap, or dance. And in between the shows, we would show our shorts. So I was amazed that people were coming, and I'm asking, like, "Yo, y'all like this?" They're like, "Yeah, this is funny." So me and Marcus Wiley, who's now comedian Marcus D. Wiley, decided that we would do a film. And I was like, we should do a cop film. So it was 21 Crunk Street, where hating is hazardous. So like on Jump Street, the Crunk Street officers had to come onto the campus and investigate a series of murders that were happening on popular students. And so we had to go in undercover as the Crunk unit and figure out who was committing these murders, which was the main character was named Sinister. He was the #1 hater. And so we had to go in and infiltrate his organization and bring him to justice. And so we did that. It was like an hour film, and we charged $3 at the auditorium, and we made over $5,000.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of $3
Yeah,
butts in those seats, right?
Full house.
Yeah, we had a full house, and we just had this large following, and that's kind of where the bug for me started, where I realized that we could tell stories. I could tell stories that move people. I enjoyed it, so I was bitten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say is a mistake that most filmmakers make, regardless of experience?
Waiting
Waiting
for approval, waiting for validation, not allowing yourself to do. Most filmmakers have a natural calling. It's a desire, it's an urge, it's the quakening, you know, when you have a project and people are feeling it. So when you wait, as opposed to really doing what's spiritually in you, most people then tend to go and do something else. And I think that's the biggest mistake. If it's your calling, man, live your dreams, live it to the fullest, you know. And that doesn't make it easy, but be relentless in your pursuit of that calling, you know. And I think that's the biggest mistake. We let people talk us out of our position, or we let adversity stop us from moving forward, because it's so raw, it's so personal, that desire.
Yeah.
That when the rejection is there, you don't want to feel that anymore, and we stop. So I would say that would be the biggest thing.
Advice, I
yeah.
think, for any profession, but especially in filmmaking. Too.
Yeah,
That's a great
yeah.
point.
Any talent people that are doing things based on your talent. Yeah, it's you butt naked in front of a crowd, you know. Yeah.
So you were at the Black American Film Festival this summer. What was your experience like?
Oh my God. So to be at ABFF was a huge honor, because we submitted to Tribeca, Sundance. I just knew we were going to get into Sundance. South by Southwest, Slam Dance, and any other popular film festivals you could think of, that, like most filmmakers, you feel that your film is worthy to be in. And we got rejected by all those festivals. And so it had got to a point for me that I thought, well, maybe this film festival route isn't the way to go. And someone told me, my producer told me, you need to submit to not only those festivals, but to some of the top black film festivals as well. And ABFF was one of the first to accept us, to accept 2 projects. I was one of the only directors that had 2 projects at ABFF. And not only was it amazing to be there, but it's a huge supporter of African Americans in film. Ava DuVernay got her start there. Ryan Coogler got his start there and got acknowledged there and got his support there. And the guy that's over it, Mr. Friday, is someone who knows your film, knows who you are. And there's a bunch of films. They take over Miami with that festival. And he's there to support and nurture your growth. So it was the best thing that could have happened to me, because I left there, you know, my soul full, ready to take on the world.
Great.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about the 2 projects you had in the festival and where people might be able to watch them?
Yeah, so the first project was an animated show called The Yard. It's a politically incorrect comedy, kind of like Boondocks / Blackish. And it played there in their web series, webisode competition. And then the second one is my film, my calling card to narrative world, Passanto, which is a French New Wave film, dark comedy. It's French New Wave meets Friday in a sense. And Passanto, you can go to our website and see the trailer, which is www.pashonteux.com. Passanto means shameful not in French. And it's about a slacker, urban slacker, who wants nothing out of life. He's a user. And even the people in his community hates to see him coming. And it's a funny coming of age film for this guy.
That's great. Are you working on any projects now?
Well, we're pushing that. Yesterday, I was in Philadelphia at Black Star Film Festival. Tomorrow, I'll be flying out to Martha's Vineyard, which is, I've never been there.
I hear it's beautiful.
Yeah, I hear it's beautiful. I got a private plane taking me from Boston to, I'm living the life, right? And so we're pushing this film. The goal is for me, is for it to be seen by the powers that be. For people who love Dr. Teeth's work, for me to be able to use that platform to introduce them into John Tucker, the filmmaker, the director, and parlay that into opportunity. And it has put me in front of a lot of great people. And right now I still direct music videos, but it just really helps any filmmaker who's pursuing growth to use the platform that you had and the things that made you popular to then transition and for them to see your growth and accept that. Because a lot of times people want to put you in a box. So I can't forever be a music video director. I don't even listen to hip hop as much as I used to.
Yeah.
I listen to Bill Withers and Al Green.
Classics.
Classic, exactly. So, and it's just a natural progression. So we're pushing Passanto. We are pushing that until the wheels fall off, until we can get into the next thing.
So what's the biggest problem you've ever encountered on set?
The biggest problem that I've ever encountered, on set was the camera. We were shooting film. Well, you have big problems all the time, but this one, I have 2 that pops in my head. One time the camera stopped, broke down on us. You have 14, 15 hours to get your shoot done. There's a lot of money on the line, a lot of professionals there, especially when we were shooting film on the music video set. And I knew, one, the record label would be responsible If we couldn't get the camera back up, that the insurance will kick in and we'll get another day, right?
Okay.
But no record company wants to do that. So had I not been aware of that, I would have just relaxed and thought, oh, I'll just chill out and we'll shoot tomorrow.
Yep.
Doesn't work like that. What happens is you're going to have less time. They're going to get that camera going. They're going to fly another one in. You're going to wait 3 or 4 hours, and that's going to just be deducted from the 13, 14 hours you got. You're going to have to condense that and still produce this project. So that was stressful. Another time I was shooting a Trina video in Miami. They went on the radio and gave up the location, and we lost. It was Trina featuring Lil Wayne. We lost the location on South Beach by the Film Commission and the police department because they were like, it's going to be too many people there. And so we wound up going to Fort Lauderdale into a club that looked like, might as well have been a brown paper bag. Like, we were at Club Live the first time. It's beautiful. It's all this stuff going on. All you got to do is point a camera and you're winning, right? They took me to Uncle Joe's barbecue club and diner spot, and it looked horrible. And I had just started shooting, so I wasn't as experienced. I was scared to death. Scared to death. And they were like, okay, this will work, this will work. And I was like, I don't know. Yeah, it'll work. Okay, we're going to shoot this here. And we left, and then the next day we were there shooting. So that was crazy. And then the last one, we were shooting Notorious B.I.G., Spit Your Game, and the union showed up and shut down the set until everybody signed up and they paid the union.
Interesting.
Like some mobster stuff.
Yeah, I've heard of
Yeah.
that
So
one.
there's a lot of
Wow.
things. Yeah. Yeah. So, and then it's funny when you see the union show up. It's like a high school party and somebody's parents come in and people start kind of sliding away
Yeah.
because you're not supposed to be working if you're union on a non-union job with union and non-union people.
Interesting.
They just kind of start sliding away.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Well, how much do you think that commerce affects your art? And, do you feel like you have to compromise as a filmmaker due to financial restrictions or business?
Cash rules everything around me. Yeah, commerce affects everything you do. The coolest part about my film is I had an investor and he invested in me. So I get to do anything I want to do, right?
Yeah.
Until the next one, because now he sees like, oh, now I want to do some things. So now there's a dance you have to do, right? And making them happy and still getting what you want. Well, when you're paid to do these jobs, you go in thinking, hey, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and it's not about you. It's work for hire. So you have to, in that, find a way to still express yourself, but express yourself in the parameters that are there. And sometimes expressing yourself, you're in search of your masterpiece, and you turn it in, and then they kill it in the edit. You have to allow that to happen.
Yeah, I can see that.
Still trying to push some type of artistic value, but if you can get a happy medium, you're winning, But never go into it thinking it's about your work, because it's your work for hire.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think about the various resources that are available to filmmakers in Houston? Like the Houston Film Commission, Backstage, that type of thing. And what do you think is missing to take Houston to the next level as far as like becoming a film mecca, if you will?
I think with the invention of digital cameras, that being a filmmaker is so accessible to those who would never had the opportunity to be filmmakers. A lot of the devices, like even your phone, gives you settings and makes settings and adjustments for you. You can shoot a music video or film on your phone. And they have devices that support those phones to even enhance what you're doing, right? So there's so many opportunities out for filmmakers, but for you to get the opportunity to figure out if that's something you want to pursue. But for Houston to become a film mecca, I don't see it happening. And the reason why is this is an oil town. You go to Atlanta, they give, in Louisiana and a couple other states, they give tax incentives. So when you get tax incentives and you shoot there, you get money back for the dollars that you shoot. They don't do that here.
Right.
And I don't think they even thought about even pushing that, because they don't care if you come or not. They make their money off of oil here and the oil companies and having Shell and all the companies that are here in Texas. So they're thriving. If any place could be a film mecca, I think it's one of the most beautiful places in Texas is Austin.
Yeah.
And for some reason, even with people like Robert Rodriguez and Matthew McConaughey and Sandra Bullock being down there, they shoot a couple projects there. They shoot a couple projects here, but it hasn't taken off like it has in Atlanta, because we don't give those tax incentives, which I just think you leaving meat on the bone, because the weather's great here in the fall and winter. There's a lot of beautiful southern locations here that can be used, and Austin has all these beautiful hills. You can play Los Angeles in River Oaks with the palm trees going down Gray Street. Some of these places you can substitute for locations, so it's just as viable, but the commerce aspect of it is not an incentive enough, I think, for it to become a film mecca here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So. Well, John, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
And you can follow his projects at directorscut.com.